now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caliger, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought... Hey, Porky. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by our new 24-hour, 7-day-a-week television channel. That's right. You can catch this show, or I should say replays of this show, and other stuff that we've done over the last 15 years. Just go, it's GinCoUSA.com. It's on Roku and all the other major streaming services. So check it out. Sign up today. You got to use a reseller code BillyC. It'll ask you for a reseller code now. BillyC, it's growing. So make sure you fill that out right. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting this guy's story told. And it's a true story. And by the way, if you want a signed copy, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. All right, so here's the thing. We'll be talking a lot today about the fight, even though there's not much to talk about in terms of the fight itself. But, of course, I'm talking about Deontay Wilder's destruction, really destruction over Dominic Breazeale. Last night took place in Brooklyn. A couple of observations that we'll get into. First and foremost, you can't deny Deontay Wilder's power. You can't deny it. I mean, he crushed Breazeale. I will say that that one time, remember when in the first part of the round, Wilder caught Breazeale. It looked like it hurt him. And Breazeale went back against the ropes towards the corner. And then he landed a shot back. It looked like, a desperation punch. I'm talking about Breazeale. Looked like a desperation punch. And it landed flush on Wilder. And Wilder went stumbling back. And that's when Breazeale had a chance to move forward and tie up Deontay Wilder to get his wits about him. They were clinching to each other, and I got a couple of emails suggesting that was the other way around, but it looked like they were both trying to hold on pretty tight. Harvey Dock had to really, really, really separate them, but nonetheless, after that break, Deontay Wilder landed just a devastating right hand that dropped Breazeale. And he was out. I mean, there was really no reason to count. He claims that Doc stopped that fight a little too soon. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, to be honest with you. He was knocked out. I mean, Deontay Wilder knocked him out. Like I said, I have a couple of observations. Dominic Breazeale, why do you go get Virgil Hunter? I mean... Virgil Hunter, if you want a trainer from the get-go, I would say Virgil Hunter would be a consideration. But as a hired gun for one fight, the style of Virgil Hunter no way could have helped Dominic Breazeale. Now, I'm in no way, shape, or form suggesting that the result of this fight was in any way connected to Virgil. But I just think it's a waste. You know, we talk about this all the time about fighters getting used to that voice in their corner and blah, blah, blah. And to mix it up in such an important fight like this, Breazeale, known for starting slow. You can't do that against Wilder. Deontay Wilder, he's got devastating punching power. That's what he wants to go to. One thing I do like about Wilder, and there's really not, aside from his power, but not much else for me to like about him. But what I do like about him is that he doesn't mess around. He goes in there, and his job is to knock his opponent out, and that's what he does. He wants to knock his opponent out. He doesn't want it to go. He doesn't want to get rounds in. He doesn't want to look cute. He doesn't want to look pretty. He just wants to go in there and knock out his opponent, and I like that. That's what I think boxing should be. So in that respect, I like Deontay Wilder and how he approaches his fights. Now, as far as Dominic Breazeale goes, knowing this, and I would hope that you would know this, knowing this, I would think that you would want to go in there and start a little quicker. I mean, traditionally he starts slow, but I would have liked to have seen him start just a wee bit quicker. He seemed to be dry. He seemed to want to, oblige the feel-out round, and Wilder wasn't having it. And at the end of the night, it didn't go 3 minutes. 2 minutes and 17 seconds was the exact time of the knockout. Wilder improves to 41-0 with a draw, and 40 of his wins coming by knockout. Breazeale loses for only the second time in his career, and the other one was against Anthony Joshua. Now everybody's going to start talking about how it took AJ 7 rounds to beat Breazeale, and it only took Wilder less than 3 minutes. It has no bearing. Has no bearing on anything. So please don't use that as an argument to suggest that Deontay Wilder's better than Anthony Joshua. I will say this. Deontay Wilder's power is an equalizer. He could go in there with Anthony Joshua and knock out Anthony Joshua just as quickly and just as devastatingly as he did to Dominic Breazeale last night. There's no question about that. I'm not suggesting that I don't think he can do that. He can. Do I think it will happen? No. I still believe Anthony Joshua will beat him when and if the two ever get back in the ring together. And I also believe that Tyson Fury beats him again. And a couple of observations. Since when is a draw considered a successful title defense? I guess by definition, because you maintain your title, it could be screwed as that. But I don't know. The announcers were very biased. You can see that in the Juan Heraldez versus Heraldez-Mendez fight, which was on the undercard. They kept talking how great Heraldez was. The way the judges scored it, 95-95 twice, and Julie Letterman had it 97-93 for Mendez. I thought Mendez won the fight. I scored the fight 96-94 for Mendez. I thought he landed, his punches landed crisp. Heraldez, he landed punches and he threw more punches. But I just thought that Mendez was rolling with a lot of them, and they weren't landing flush. And then the point that I'm making now is the fact that the commentating team, and I love Al Bernstein, and I like Paulie. I just hate that other guy. But the truth of the matter is they were so biased for Heraldez. And then they go, oh, well, we got the social media. Let's see. Oh, social media, overwhelming pick to Heraldez. That's because they're being swayed by the commentator. If you really want to score a fight, or if you really want to pay attention to a fight, and see how you feel it came out. Do it without the sound, because to tell you the truth, that's the way to do it, in my opinion. Anyway, so I don't know. And then the Gary Russell Jr. fight, that particular fight, I thought Gary Russell did well. Of course, his hand speed is great. That cut was vicious. Kiko Martinez, I don't think ever had a chance in that fight. Gary Russell improves to 30 wins, 1 loss, 18 coming by knockout. Kiko Martinez drops to 39-9 with 28 of his wins coming by knockout. So that's what was on the Showtime fight card last night, and I just think that I just think that the commentating was pretty. I just thought it was pretty biased. That's all. So that's just my thoughts, and I will live by it or die by it, I guess. But Deontay Wilder knocking out Dominic Breazeale in 1 round. Joining us right now to get his thoughts is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. Are you there, Sal?
I am here, Billy C. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, my man. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the fight last night. Your boy Deontay Wilder destroys Dominic Breazeale in 1 round. Was it enough for you to get any thoughts on pros, cons, whatever? What's your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I when he uncorks that right hand, it's hard to imagine. Now, I've said in the past, some of the fighters, some of the boxers that Triple G has faced, I don't think will ever be the same again. And I'm about to say a profound statement. The human head was not meant to be a punching bag. And let me tell you something. Dominic Breazeale, from the punishment and the right hands he took in that short burst of time, I don't think he'll ever be the same fighter again. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but let me tell you, when he uncorks that right hand, Billy C., okay, well, Deontay Wilder is not an eloquent guy. He's not a guy that carries himself with class, sophistication, and all that, but when he uncorks that right hand, man, there is very, very few people that could withstand that kind of punishment. And what he did last night, I know you're asking the questions, but I got to ask myself, what do you think Anthony Joshua was going to say or think to himself when he took 7 rounds to finish Breazeale? And I'll tell you what, Deontay Wilder's got one of the most powerful right hands I've seen in boxing.
So, first of all, I agree with you 100%. Deontay Wilder, it's a bomb. It really is. It's a bomb. When it connects, it's great. And there's really, you can't really dissect anything in the fight because it didn't go long enough. And I could, say, and I have said earlier, what I thought, Breazeale did wrong, especially when you know your opponent. But you just said something that just makes the hair on the back of my, well, I don't have any on my head, but on the back of my neck stand up. And I know that's the big discussion now. It took Anthony Joshua 7 rounds. Tell me what difference that really makes. Dominic Breazeale looked like he wanted to have a feel-out round, and that was his mistake. He brings in Virgil Hunter, who's a Zen type of a guy, wants to be all mental, and he probably said, stay relaxed, blah 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 blah. But what difference does it make? I don't understand.
No, and that's a good point, Bill. It really doesn't, because it just takes the right opponent, the right time, the right punch, and styles make fights, and it could take that one punch to turn a fight around instantly. And unfortunately for Breazeale, he may have wanted to wait and try to see a feel-out round. But Deontay Wilder, he just jumps on his opponent when he sees an opening. I'll tell you what, though. Deontay Wilder last night, he set that all up with a jab.
What I like about Wilder, and I said it earlier, and I know you're going to agree, I think you're going to agree. Deontay Wilder doesn't mess around. He goes in there, and it's not like he wants to get in. Well, you know how some fighters, I said earlier, you know how some fighters say, we got to get some rounds in first before you knock him out. You got to break him down. You got to wear him out. Deontay Wilder's, his game plan is to seek and destroy. Get it over with as quickly as possible, similar to early Mike Tyson. And I like that. Yeah. I like that. And I think that was Breazeale's demise.
Yes.
And I think he's going to do the same thing with no matter who he gets in the ring with, Anthony Joshua included. And like I said earlier, Sal, Anthony Joshua could take one of those bombs that Deontay Wilder landed on Breazeale and go down just as quick and just as hard as Dominic Breazeale did. That's the fear factor when you step in the ring with Wilder, that he's got the punching power. But don't you think you should try to dictate the fight early on, get him moving backwards, because there's where his weaknesses get exposed?
Yes, good point. And I think that's what's going to take him. We all know that Anthony Joshua is big enough to do that and powerful enough and strong enough, and he could probably dictate that a little more so than Dominic Breazeale. So I think right now, I'm sure as I said, the round robin effect between Anthony Joshua, the rematch with Ortiz, and of course there's another one out there of course Tyson Fury. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that can happen with the heavyweight division's on fire right now. Let's put it that way. Now, when the heavyweight division's on fire, boxing's great.
I think I think you and I both were wrong about Deontay Wilder as we talked about him as long as a little over a year ago. We kept telling each other, agreeing and telling the viewers and listeners that he was, should have taken the fight. Well, it seems now, especially after that win over Breazeale, and I think that the value of Deontay Wilder has skyrocketed. Do I still think he should have taken that money then? Yeah, I still do. And the reason is because I don't think his value would have diminished. I think it would still be where it is today. But he definitely is in a better position per split-wise. And the reason I think, Sal, is because of the excitement factor. With this guy, whether he wins or loses, and he hasn't lost yet, whether he goes the distance or not, and he's only went the distance once, the truth of the matter is that he's got people wondering when the end is going to come. And I think that deserves a bigger split. I think in hindsight now, maybe he's heading along the right path. The only problem I still have is that his options are very minimal.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that what he brings to the table is just the wow factor, and we can look at a trajectory of what he would have done if he had taken that fight a couple of years ago or whenever that was offered to him with the $15 million. And where he's going to wind up now? Because right now, I mean, he's looking at mega money coming up, and if he gets in the ring with Joshua, I just hope we see that fight, because you know how boxing works, Bill. This could be one of the fights that never happen if things don't work out right. But I think it's inevitable. I think it should happen. It's the fight that everybody wants to see. But there are some round-robin fights that can take place in between, and hopefully all fighters will pretty much do what they're supposed to do and go unscathed, so that the mega fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder will take place. I see definitely, there's a couple of good opponents out there for each fighter. So we'll see. We will see.
We got a super chat from my man Johnston, and it says, "Great to hear Sal on the radio." So that's great. Great.
Thank you, Johnston. It's great to be there, buddy. Thank you so much for all your thoughts and prayers, pal.
The thing is with talking back with Wilder, I still think, I don't know what he made for the fight last night, but it was on regular showtime, and the rest of the card was not really that competitive. Well, I guess the Heraldez-Mendez fight was. I thought it was. I thought it went to the wrong. I thought it shouldn't have been a draw. I thought that Mendez actually squeaked it out. But
yeah, I think I did too, Bill.
But what I was saying is, how much could he have made for the fight last night? I don't think he made $10 million. So if he makes 5 or even 8, maybe let's say he makes 10. You add it up, he still hasn't come close to making what he would have made again. I mean, if it's about the money, if it's about the money,
right.
Which, Sal, I don't care what anybody says, it's about the money. I mean, you don't get into this business to not make the money. If you get an opportunity to make the money, you make the money. So
that's right.
I don't know. I don't know if he made the right decision, but I do know this. He's got a devastating right hand, and Anthony Joshua is just as vulnerable to getting caught with that right hand as any other 40 of the knockout victims that Deontay Wilder has faced. My only thing that I still cling to is that Wilder has become, and he always has been, in my opinion, but he's been blatantly has become a one-trick pony. That's what he comes out for, to kill you with his right hand. I mean, that's what he wants to do. And it works. No. Don't get me wrong, Sal.
No,
it works. It works. I mean, I
works.
can't blame the guy. He's 41-0 with 40 knockouts, and 40 times they've succumbed to that right hand. And the only guy that hasn't, we don't understand how he didn't with Tyson Fury, how he even dragged his ass up off the canvas in that 12th round. But the truth of the matter is Wilder has won all of his fights by way of knockout. The question is, and everybody continues to talk about the possibility of a showdown between Wilder and Anthony Joshua, and I think the same result could happen. It's going to be a lot of pressure is going to be on Anthony Joshua to prevent Deontay Wilder from doing what he did to Breazeale. I thought Breazeale should have been crowding him. I thought Breazeale should have tried to tie him up and not let him get a full shot, a full power shot. I thought Breazeale's chance of winning that fight was to make it ugly, to get inside. As a matter of fact, I think Al Bernstein said the same thing. But I had said that on last week's show. That he needs to make it ugly. He needs to get in there and get in close and a couple of elbows, maybe a couple of low blows. I hate to say it, but that's the way he would have had a chance. He didn't even get out of the first round, Sal.
No, he did not. And I'll tell you, it's just you made a good statement the other day. I mean, earlier. He seeks and destroys like Mike Tyson did early on, and Mike Tyson in his style, just through intimidation, his opponents were knocked out before the punch ever hit him. And I think that's a little similarity between what happened last night and Dominic Breazeale. I think Dominic, not that he was afraid to take that right hand, but man, when you're fighting defensively and you get your game plan thrown off, a little bit what you're doing, I think he was in a defensive posture, and that's why he couldn't bury his head on his chest and just pound away and crowd him and be dirty a little bit where he could need it to be. But like you said, he does, in Mike Tyson's fashion, seeks and destroys. No ifs, ands, or buts. Well, it could be a butt once in a while, but
Wilder prevented Breazeale from doing anything, and I think it's when you're going in there against a champion, it's your job to fight your fight. The champion's going to try to fight his fight. And obviously Wilder imposed his style on Breazeale. Breazeale started too slow. He had a too much of a laid-back style, and it hurt him big time. But
yeah, I know.
Billy Joe Saunders, he won. He's now the WBO super middleweight champion, as he won a decision over Saunders-Isufi to improve to 28-0, 13 knockouts, 120 to 108, 117, 111, 118, 110, all in favor of Saunders. They were mistakenly saying that Saunders was part of the mix when they were talking with one of the Charlo brothers last night. But I suppose he is still in the mix between middle and super middle. Do you see him fighting Canelo?
I could see him fighting Canelo because I think it would be a natural match made. And do I see him doing much against Canelo? I think Saunders is a big middleweight. I think he's a good-sized guy. But I really think that Canelo, we saw the Canelo a couple weeks ago, the beast was unleashed. And he's going to be a very, very hard guy to beat once that momentum is on his side. The guy just knows how to win rounds. He knows how to force the rounds. Like I said, Canelo, he became a complete fighter right before our eyes.
Great point. Sal, we appreciate you joining us this morning, and we want you to continue your fight. And you sound great, and we look forward to next time, brother.
Absolutely. We'll talk during the week, Bill. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to wish everybody a great day, and thank you so much. Take care.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
That's my main man, Sal Rocky Senecola, giving us his thoughts on the fights last night. We are scheduled to have Dax Khan join us, as well as Alice Papali, and the return of Emily Harney. And Emily Harney was ringside, taking some shots of the Wilder Brazil fight, so we'll get that. But she was also on hand at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut for an event, and she could tell us about that. But Marco Captain Huck was on that card very quietly, and I was talking to Emily during the week, and she was telling me, oh yeah, it looks like Captain Huck's on that card, and I'm like, really? I hadn't heard anything about that. And what a weird chain of events that took place there. Marco Huck's trying to get back into the mix in the heavyweight division, and he was matched up with Nick Guravis, who went into the fight with a 14-9 record. And Huck, who was 41-5, 14-10, 41-5-1, and apparently in the very first round, Huck dropped Guravis. I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong, and then got up, and the two fighters were clinched together, and the referee yelled break, and Huck landed a shot, and his opponent couldn't get up, and they ruled it a TKO, and then they changed it to a no contest. So I got to find out from Emily what the heck happened there. What a wasted trip for Captain Huck. Some other fights that I just want to mention real quick before we take a break. In the World Boxing Super Series, in the junior welterweight division, Josh Taylor, the Tornado, they call him the Tartan Tornado, improved to 15-0 with 12 knockouts when he won a 12-round decision over the former IBF world champion Ivan Baranchyk, who loses the first time in his career. He drops to 19-1. The way the judges scored it: 117, 109, 115, 111 twice. Now Josh Taylor, who's now the new IBF champion, he will be taking on Regis Prograis in the final for that weight class. And in the bantamweight, talk about a monster. Yeah, well, that's his nickname. But Naoya Inoue improved to 18-0 with 16 knockouts when he took care of IBF champ Emmanuel Rodriguez in the second round. Rodriguez loses for the first time in his career. He's now 19-1. So talk about two major destructions last night. Deontay Wilder over Dominic Breazeale, and Naoya Inoue crushing Manny Rodriguez. Both, Wilder retained his title. Inoue retained his, but picked up the IBF belt. So one other fight I wanted to talk about, Joe Joyce, a young heavyweight out of England. He fought an experienced Alexander Ustinov and scored a third-round knockout over Ustinov to improve to 9-0 with 9 knockouts. Ustinov is 34-4 with 25 of his wins coming by knockout. The official time was 1 minute and 55 seconds. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll get Doc Khan on, and we'll get his thoughts on the less than 3-minute fight between Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale. So don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad that you could be with us. Hey, don't forget about our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week television channel. That's right. You can catch it on Roku and all the other major streaming services through Ginico USA. They have a bunch of other channels, of course, part of their network. But check it out. Sign up today. Ginico USA, GINIKO USA.com. Sign up, enter the reseller code Billy C, and you'll be all set. Joining us right now is my man Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning, Mr. Billy C.
How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing. How are you?
Better than Breazeale. So let's get right into that real quick. It's hard to really analyze anything, but I think one thing has become clear, that Deontay Wilder obviously has got some devastating punching power, knocked out Breazeale. Before we get into a couple of questions I have, any thoughts on the fight? I mean, what was your thoughts on the fight? What did you think after 2 minutes and 17 seconds?
No, I expected that. It was just a matter of how long was it going to take. Dominic Breazeale is a slow starter. He really doesn't have, despite the amount of KOs compared to his wins, I think all but one of his wins came by knockout. He's not really an overly strong fighter. He's not really nimble enough to have been in there and muscled Deontay Wilder and use his weight advantage. So, again, it was just a matter of time on how long. Was he going to be able to do it quicker than Anthony Joshua, which he did. But, again, Anthony Joshua went about the fight in a little bit different manner, which is why it took a little bit longer. What I have to say about Deontay Wilder is give him credit for his pre-fight interview. Deontay Wilder has been getting a lot of flack due to his comments on his self-promotion, things about how he thinks he's going to kill somebody in the ring, how he has compared himself to other past greats, and we know that that's because he has a horrible promoter. He has no pitch man out there for him, so he's doing his own PR, but he did say yesterday that he doesn't want anybody in front of him that's scared. He wants a guy that's going to give him a good fight. He wants to fight the best. He wants to be able to say afterwards that, look in the mirror and say, I earned my title. I had to work hard for this win, and he wants the fans to appreciate what it goes on in there, win or lose, because the fans are the ones that are paying their hard-earned money. So along with the knockout, I think that right there kind of helped raise Deontay Wilder's status and, as you mentioned before, his bargaining power.
There's no question, in my opinion, that his bargaining power, at least for Anthony Joshua, has or Tyson Fury, has gone up. That factor of, is he going to destroy him? That's got to be worth something. I still don't know if financially he made the right decision, but I guess only time will tell. But you mentioned something, and Sal said it earlier, and it bothers me because I don't see what the connect. And I know everyone's going to say exactly what you said. Oh, well, he knocked him out in one round, and it took Anthony Joshua 7. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter. And I know you followed that line with the most important follow-up line, because Anthony Joshua took approached the fight differently than Deontay Wilder. But why are the fans? Is it because the commentating team kept mentioning it? I mean, why would the fans use that to suggest that, because it's almost like a Floyd Mayweather type statement. Oh, well, because I knocked out so-and-so quicker, that means I don't have to fight him. You know what I mean?
Well, whenever you have a division with two guys that you don't know exactly which one is the top guy, one or the other is, that is the only way that you're going to be able to go back and forth and measure. When you compare their other in common opponents, Dominic Breazeale would be the best of the opponents that they have in common. So that's why Dominic Breazeale is used as that measuring stick. But it wouldn't matter if it was them or any other division, if the same scenario would be used. And of course, again, that also helps sell the fight more to see, if fighter A did it better than fighter B, is fighter A really better, or do you understand what I'm saying? It's just all about marking. And no, it doesn't matter if a fight would have went the distance. That doesn't automatically mean that fighter is better than the other fighter, because the other fighter was able to go out there and dispatch a guy. Anybody can get knocked out with one punch. You don't have to be an elite guy. You can be that guy who's 1 in 15 and go out there and just happen to catch that guy who's undefeated with the right shot and knock him out cold. That doesn't exactly make you the best in your division of the sport.
No, and the other thing too is that the old saying, styles make fights. Listen, Anthony Joshua, when he fights, he's thinking in there. Deontay Wilder's not thinking. Deontay Wilder's got one thing on his mind: knock out my opponent, seek and destroy. I'm going to knock you out, and that's it. You can see it the way he delivers his punches. This is why we all say, oh, he's open, he's sloppy, he's this, he's that. We have all the negatives we come out with, but yet the guy is still unbeaten because he's got the neutralizer, and it's called his right hand. I think Breazeale, we talked about this last week, had one chance of beating Wilder. We all knew that Wilder had the pop to knock this guy out, and we all knew that this guy takes punches. Up until last night, he had displayed a solid chin, got up off the deck several times to win, once not so much. But, I thought that he needed to bully Deontay Wilder. I thought he needed to tie him up, get in close. Maybe some not so clean tactics used. He didn't even give himself a chance. It was like he was ready for that, preliminarily feel out round. And I don't think Virgil Hunter did anything for him either.
He's just not at that level. He's just not at that level. He's not at that level to be able to do that, to go in there and capitalize on that weight advantage. Dominic Breazeale is just not at that level. That's not saying he's not a good fighter. It's just he's not an elite fighter, and that's why he wasn't able to get that done.
His hand speed is not so much. In your opinion, I know that we keep analyzing the potential showdown between Wilder and Anthony Joshua, but does Anthony Joshua's hand speed make Wilder come in any differently, or do you think Wilder would seek and destroy Anthony Joshua exactly how he seek and destroyed Dominic Breazeale?
I think Wilder has tremendous hand speed when he throws his punches straight, but the problem is we know he doesn't throw his punches straight, and when he does throw his punches straight, we get knockouts like last night. The difference is when he goes in there against an Anthony Joshua and he doesn't throw those punches straight, and he leaves himself open for a counter. Anthony Joshua has that same type of dynamite in his hand. And Anthony Joshua, the other factor is he is at that elite level that Dominic Breazeale is not, and Anthony Joshua has that physical bulk size to actually push Deontay Wilder around on the inside.
Well, I thought that Breazeale had the physical size to do it. He just didn't do it. But no, what I was asking you was, does Anthony Joshua's hand speed make Deontay Wilder maybe think twice?
I think Deontay Wilder is actually faster than Anthony Joshua.
You think Deontay Wilder is faster than Anthony Joshua?
I do. Go back and look at his knockouts, especially his counters of guys, and you'll see, those punches are like lightning fast. Last night, lightning fast.
Huh. Well, yeah, but okay. Well, I guess
he's like a big Tommy Hearns without the Tommy Hearns boxing ability.
Okay, well,
same build, same frame, same everything, just not the Tommy Hearns overall boxing ability. When Power isn't able to bail him out, what happens is like what happened with the Tyson Fury fight.
The co-main event on that card, Gary Russell Jr., not to be confused with the other two Gary Russells that were on the card. His brother, that's kind of weird. But anyway, he beat Kiko Martinez. Kiko Martinez has a lot of mileage on him. I think that the fight was stopped correctly. That cut was vicious. It looked like chop meat that you use for making a hamburger. But what I'd really like to get your thoughts on, they were really beating him up about his fighting infrequently, and rightfully so. But now he's calling out the big names. I mean, he mentioned every name but Lomachenko's. But does he really have? I mean, when he fights an elite fighter, I hate to put Davis as an elite, but even if he stepped in with Davis, I mean, how does he fare?
Can he take Davis's power? But other than that, Gary Russell's a complete package. He's just not a big puncher. He's a decent puncher. He's just not a big puncher. And of course, the inactivity hurts him. But it seems that every time he comes back from a year layoff or a year plus layoff, he doesn't seem rusty. But again, he's not exactly fighting the very upper echelon, so we don't really know. Kiko Martinez, he's a warrior, but his best is past days. His best days were at lower divisions. But since then, Quigg, Santa Cruz, Frampton, Warrington, he's more or less been that opponent that isn't quite at the opponent status, if that makes sense. He's still a credible name where people aren't going to be like, really, Kiko Martinez? So last night doesn't really, up the ante or make Gary Russell any, unlike Deontay Wilder, doesn't really give him any bargaining power against these top names. But, Gary Russell, despite a great talent, he's hard to get excited for because he always says after every fight, I want to be more active, and he calls out the big names, except he never follows through with it. And, you kind of get let down. So, once Gary Russell goes in there and he does fight one of these guys, I think, it's a 50-50. You can't count him out, even if him and Lomachenko should happen to meet at, like, a catchweight or something like that. But, until it happens, it's just talk.
He is exciting to watch. I love his boxing ability. And one of my theories of why he doesn't fight that much is I believe he's got some serious problems with his hands. I think his hands are very fragile. He's hurt his hands before, and I think that he tries to preserve them and seek out fights that make financial sense for him. But I think some of the talk that he was having last night, Dax, I think indicates that he does want the big names because he knows that he needs to make some serious coin. I don't know what he made last night, but he couldn't have possibly have made that much fighting Kiko Martinez as a co-main event on a regular Showtime.
I don't think he's ever had a really big elite payday.
Right, so he's due. So that's why he need. That's why he needs.
Compared to the other names in and around his division, the top names, I don't think he's ever had the type of paydays that they have.
Right. In a fight that had me, it was extremely exciting. They really kicked off the television broadcast with a good fight. Juan Heraldez against Heraldez-Mendez. Heraldez, we heard all about how much sparring he got at the Mayweather gym. Floyd was there to support him, etc., etc. I thought Mendez squeaked out the fight, Dax. And the reason why I did was because I thought that Mendez actually landed, when he landed a punch, it was obvious that he landed the punch. I think some of the shots that Heraldez landed were grazing punches. I saw Mendez rolling with a lot of those punches. Even some of the body shots, he would move his body just a bit where it connected, but not to really hurt him. He did get rocked once during the fight. I don't know why I started scoring that fight. Usually I don't, but I did, and I scored it 96-94. I have no problem with 95-95, and I really don't have any problem with 97-93. What I had a problem with was the commentators were so biased for Heraldez. Then they acted, shocked when all the audience that was watching on TV had Heraldez winning by a huge margin. What was your thoughts on that fight?
I thought that Mendez won the fight by the same scores that you did, but Mendez was brought in there as the fading ex-champion, and let's be honest, Mendez, even when he was a title holder, wasn't exactly grabbing headlines. He wasn't exactly an exciting fighter, but he has gotten better. And is it just me, or did Mendez actually look physically stronger than he has in the past at 140 pounds last night?
He did, and I'll tell you another thing. The shots, I know he wasn't known as a power puncher, but the shots that he landed flush were hurting Heraldez.
Yeah, and I just think Mendez was supposed to be, again, a name to help this hot prospect jump up to that next level, but it just didn't turn out that way. And Mendez, I believe, he deserved to win. But this is boxing. It wasn't a horrible robbery. I won't even say it was a robbery. It was just a matter of opinion. But I have Mendez winning. It certainly wasn't like some of the other scorecards that happened last night. But you know what I'm dying to talk about.
Well, Naoya Inoue crushes Manny Rodriguez. I know you love this kid, but I mean he's performing the same way against elite or higher end fighters that he did when he first came up. And oh, by the way, I mean, he doesn't even have 20 fights yet. And when I saw this fight, I'm saying to myself, I couldn't help but remember what Sugar Ray Leonard said to us in Las Vegas when I asked him about some young fighters. And he said to me, and I even asked him twice, and he basically said, I know what you're asking me, and the answer is the same. He says, when you have so much talent and natural ability, that it really doesn't hurt if you have some easy fights that talent will showcase when it needs to, and it certainly did with Inoue.
Look, Rodriguez walked in there, and when you look at the two of them, Rodriguez looked like he was 2 divisions bigger than Inoue. But 19 fights, he's 12-0 with 11 knockouts and world title fights. Ryoichi Taguchi, Adrian Hernandez, Omar Narvaez, Koei Kono, Jamie McDonald, Juan Carlos Payano, and now Emmanuel Rodriguez. Not just belt holders who just won the title. I mean, legitimate champions who have defenses underneath them and quality guys. This is 3 divisions now. This kid can knock you out fighting off the back foot. He can knock you out off the ropes. He can knock you out as the aggressor, as the defensive fighter. The kid can do it all. He has a hard chin. And when he hits guys, he doesn't even need to really sit down and dig into his punches. Whatever he touches, he hurts. He can take a punch. He has good defense. This kid is legitimate. He's real. He truly deserves the name, the monster. It's not hype. He actually lives up to and he fulfills that title. How can you not like watching this kid? It's going to take a weight bully. It's going to take somebody a couple divisions above to actually beat this kid. I would love to see him against Luis Nery. Nonito Donaire, I've always been a big fan of his. I started interviewing him in his 3rd or 4th pro fight. He doesn't have a chance against Inoue. So, but this kid is definitely, he's for real, and he's a genuine top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Yes, we know that's a mythical list, but he's a genuine top 5 pound-for-pound fighter.
The thing I really like about him, too, is that he fights. He's not, cherry pick is nothing. You can't mention that when you talk about him.
You can't really cherry pick in those divisions.
No, that's true.
To be honest.
That's
but
true.
Look, 172-14 is the record of all the champions he has beaten in 3 divisions to win his world titles. 172-14.
Amazing. Josh Taylor, he improved to 16-0 with 12 knockouts when he won over Ivan Baranchyk in the junior welterweight World Boxing Super Series. What was your thoughts on that? Talk about scores. They were all over the place, all in favor of Taylor, but 117-109, 115-111 twice. What's your thoughts?
It was a good fight. The movement of Taylor was the difference. Baranchyk has never been dealt well with movers. The thing about Taylor, is it just me, or did he move around too much? It looks like he was wasting a lot of energy bouncing up and down, back and forth. I mean, it's worked for him so far because he's undefeated, but I don't know. There's just something about that bouncing up and down I don't like. And I know all but now 3 of his fights have ended by knockout. I just think that when he gets in there against a Regis Prograis, this is going to be the downfall for him. Ivan Baranchyk, no quit in him. After that 6th round, a lot of us thought, this fight is going to be over. But no, he actually finished that fight stronger than Taylor, and they both finished that fight going toe-to-toe. So it was a good fight, and it definitely lived up, to what we expect out of the World Boxing Super Series matchups.
I think Josh Taylor, the bouncing you indicate, I think it's more of a timing issue, but I agree with you that, that kind of stuff at the elite levels doesn't work. The card that I really meant, I erred there. Those scorecards weren't all over the place. The one that they were all over the place is the Billy Joe Saunders fight. He captured the WBO's version of the super middleweight belt by beating Taylor-Baranchyk, who I don't know how he got a world title shot, but nonetheless, Billy Joe Saunders got a belt again. 120-108, 117-111, 118-110. What was your thoughts on that fight?
First thing I thought, just like you, is how does a guy lose his title? Does he test dirty and then get a world title shot in the division above after one fight in between? I have no idea. And as for his opponent, he wasn't, really ready, or he shouldn't have been in a world title fight. So it was expected. I expected Billy Joe Saunders to win. What happens now, I don't know. I had it 117, 111. Rarely do I ever score a fight that wide. Look for Billy Joe Saunders to face Chris Eubank in a rematch. Maybe Callum Smith, who was the king of the division, or John Ryder, the regular WBA champion, who we've seen on the undercard of Daniel Jacobs and Canelo. All of those are really big fights overseas and big money fights, and would decide, the king of 168 pounds. And that's something that, over here, for some reason, we need to follow those. The promoters here need to follow that example. How quickly that they get these guys into these mega fights, and that's why I believe that a lot of these super middleweight division, it got really red hot here. Now all of a sudden, after the World Boxing Super Series, the first one went into play, there was no American fighters there. Now that that's over, the division is dead here again. You know what I mean? It's all overseas. The division is dead here again.
I can't help but think that the Billy Joe Saunders, possible fights of possible opponents, and I don't have them necessarily staying in the super middleweight division. I could still see a fight at middleweight against Triple G. I could also see Daniel Jacobs moving up to fight Billy Joe Saunders. If I'm Daniel Jacobs, and he did talk about moving up to super middleweight, there's a good fight for him against Billy Joe Saunders, or even Canelo. We wanted to see Canelo fight. So, Saunders has some opportunities. The question that is kind of strange, or it's not a strange question, it's getting the answer is strange. He was on ESPN Plus, therefore ties with Top Rank and ESPN. Does that prevent him from the fights I just mentioned? Because all of the rest of those guys are with DAZN.
Hopefully not. That is something. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that what supposedly shut down the Wilder and Tyson Fury rematches when Tyson Fury signed with Top Rank and went on to that streaming platform? And we were hoping that streaming platform, when that came into play, we were going to kind of avoid all these fights that weren't made with HBO fighters and Showtime fighters and so on and so forth. But is that going to happen again?
Well, what's happening with these streaming services is that specific promoters are aligning themselves with it. The only promoter that kind of has been kind of neutral is Golden Boy. Golden Boy has their own deal with DAZN, but they still do stuff on other networks, and they've seemed to be more workable. Now the problem is their top dogs are all with DAZN. So I don't know.
Does that mean though they can't fight on any? My point is, unlike the
you mean contractually?
Yeah, like the contracts with HBO and Showtime, are these contracts with these streaming platforms preventing them from actually appearing on one of the other streaming platforms? And speaking of, what about the rumors, what's been circulating around that Waddle and Reed have, mandated that the PBC, is up for auction.
Yeah, I had heard that was for sale, and
now the front runner, Bill, streaming platforms. The front runner is Zuffa and the UFC, who has started showing boxing matches on UFC Fight Pass on a regular basis.
The funny thing is that the PBC, their fighters, they have been successful in gathering an audience, but their fights and fighters are not fighting the same competitive fights that we're seeing on DAZN and even ESPN 3 or Plus or 2 or regular ESPN. So I don't know. That's a good question. The thing that really bothers me is all these fighters that signed with PBC were sold a bill of goods that they were going to be taken care of, that Al Heyman was putting them as their sole in his sole interest, etc. And it's been nothing less than the complete opposite. And if he does sell this out, meaning that he would sell all the fighters as well, to me that really magnifies that these guys made the wrong decision.
No, I believe that he would still be involved as their advisor, but as far as the PBC itself, I don't believe he would have any authority there anymore. But Al Heyman's concept don't get me wrong, was a great concept. The delivery method was wrong. Al Heyman just spent too much money at one time buying up too much airtime, as we know, and nobody, did the research on how we're going to generate money back when it comes to commercials and revenue and so on. And, some of the guys have made, money, so I don't think that Al Heyman ever had any ill intentions. As much as I love Don King, and as great as he was, I'm not going to say Al Heyman went out there with, with this Don King type mentality on, I'm going to make as much money off of you as possible. I just think Al Heyman's business method wasn't thought out properly.
I disagree. I don't think he was as blatant, but I think his primary goal was to make money. And I think
this is the money sport.
Yeah, no, I know, but the difference is, Don King was like, "Hey, I'm making my money," and didn't hide it. Al acts like, he's not making the money. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I've known this, and from dealing in business my whole life. When somebody's telling you they're not making, if you go and get your car repaired and the mechanic's going, "Hey, Dax, I'm going to give you a good deal. I'm not making nothing on this." You could bet your last dollar that he's buying something off of the money he's making from you. But
of course.
Yeah.
But my stressor with that is, with the complaints about the PBC and the competition, if Zuffa and Dana White was put in charge of those PBC fighters, remember the UFC is. You ask the average person what MMA is, they're going to say the UFC. They're not going to mention MMA. They're going to say UFC. That's what they consider MMA, the average person who doesn't follow the sport. And that's because Dana White and that company insists that the best fight the best. They're known to cut fighters and drop their contracts for 2 or 3 losses. So imagine all these PBC fighters, because there's a lot of talent in the PBC. Now, all of a sudden, these guys step in. They have their own streaming platform. They don't have to worry about buying up airtime. They don't have to worry about generating revenue from commercials. But what they now have to do is fight the very best, because that's what these guys insist on. That's what Zuffa insists on, is fighting the very best, because that is what they have built their company off of. And that's what's made them so successful. There is no layover fights. There is no layup fights.
And I think a lot of them will not do too well. But, Dax, appreciate your time and thoughts, and we'll look forward to next weekend, brother.
All right, everybody, enjoy the day.
That's Dax Khan. You can check him out up on Billy C Boxing. Zuffa, isn't that the thing you in a shower you put a Zuffa on your back? I don't know, man. I got to look that up.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
Oh yeah, that's my cue. And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget about catching us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's right, on the Billy C. television channel. You can catch us on through Roku and all the other top streaming devices. Just sign up to Ginico USA. Visit the website GinicoUSA.com and make sure you use the reseller code Billy C. You'll get all their other channels too. There's some pretty cool channels there. Speaking of pretty cool, joining us right now is my man Alex Papali, and you're loving the fact that I can that you can see me doing all those stupid things that I like to do in between commercial breaks.
Yep. Good morning, Billy C. Yeah, it's nice to be able to stare at each other.
Yeah. So now if I roll my eyes, I got to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. He can see me.
He can see me.
You know. But Deontay Wilder crushes Dominic Breazeale in one round last night, and I mean, you know, we could turn around and break down second by second of the fight, but it boils down to one thing for me. Wilder, I've maintained my opinion that Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony, and he certainly showed it last night. But my big hang-up isn't that. Wilder's got power. You can make the case that he's got the most power in the heavyweight division right now, even over my guy Anthony Joshua. But I also feel that Dominic Breazeale did not give himself a chance to win the fight. What was your thoughts of what he did? I mean, he was just methodical. And the thing I have to respect with Wilder is he comes in to knock you out from the bell. From the opening bell, he wants to finish you off, and I like that.
Yeah, I think that, he definitely is, mainly, he's mainly power, and that's it. However, I do agree with Dax that his hands are a little quicker than Joshua's, but his combination, his 1-2 is probably the best 1-2 in the sport right now. And it could, and like you said, these might be the hardest punches in the heavyweight division ever. Only because of that idea that as you proceed through time, athletes don't get worse, they get better. So the idea that, the punches he's throwing from the modern athlete might be harder than anyone has ever thrown. Of course, people are going to argue that because, Marciano could shear off a molar with one shot. We haven't heard that kind of thing from Deontay Wilder, although who knows how Dominic Breazeale's teeth feel this morning. I think that because his even if you watch that knockout, even the jab had mustard on it. It wasn't like it was just a blinding jab and then looking, don't notice this, and here comes this. Both punches were power punches. So I do think, and I think that's why Dominic Breazeale was not able to turn it into a close mugging fight. He tried, and the thing that's fun about all three of the top heavyweights today, they're all vulnerable because Wilder did get caught. But like we've seen him, in the fights since Ortiz, he didn't lose his cool, and he stayed tough and then closed the show in dramatic fashion. And I mean, of the two knockouts yesterday, I kind of like the Inoue knockout more because it was more the totality of it. But how could you not love the heavyweight KO? I mean, one shot out. It's amazing. There's nothing like it in sports.
Nothing like it in sports, and I agree with you on that. Inoue is a more talented fighter, and that was on display. But I think Deontay Wilder, his value really skyrocketed last night, and the reason why it skyrocketed last night wasn't of who he knocked out. It was how and how quickly, and whether you and Dax are correct with the overall hand speed, I can't help but think mathematically the quickest punch is the most direct punch, and that's where Deontay Wilder fails. He throws from crazy angles, and somebody could make the argument, well, so does Manny Pacquiao, but we're talking different. We're talking different. He's out of position when he lets his hands go. He did get caught and was rocked last night backwards by Breazeale, and I disagree. I don't think Breazeale did try to maul him. He was sitting there. Wilder came out with a couple of jabs. Breazeale was making him know that nothing was hurting him, shaking his head. I mean, he was clearly thinking that he was going to have a feel-out round. To me, that's what it looked like. And Wilder, to his credit, did not want to play that game. I don't understand why a fighter, aside from the circus value, would bring in a trainer they've never worked with for the biggest fight of his career. And, oh, by the way, Virgil is a guy that's known for being the Zen master type of a trainer who's talking with his fighters, trying to get them on the same mental plane, and really you needed somebody that was going to help execute a game plan that was going to have parts A, B, and C against Wilder, and I just don't think Breazeale was ready to do that.
Yeah, and I think you're right that bringing in a top-notch trainer like that for one fight, it usually is mostly for show, because to work with a new trainer, it usually takes several fights for your relationship to gel and for you to really start seeing the benefits from it. And I think the thing that's sort of unfair to whoever's in the corner, when you have what happened last night in the heavyweight division and you have power like that on display, everything goes out the window, because you could have had a really great real learning training camp for 8-10 weeks and it's over in less than 3 minutes. So, you can't help that. But I do think that I think Wilder was wise in jumping on him because he knew that Breazeale started slow, and I think that the big benefit for last night, especially in today's sort of social media age, what have you done for me lately, is that he did it so much quicker, stopping Breazeale, than Anthony Joshua did.
All right.
That helps him.
I want to know this, okay? And so far, you've said it, Dax said it, Sal said it. And I just want to know what difference does that make? I mean, everybody's going to be talking about that. That is going to be the topic, the comparison. You look at two fighters that are destined, or at least we hope that they're destined to face each other inside the ring, and you start looking at like opponents. Then you start looking at the ways they win. Now we look at this particular case where we say, okay, well, it took Anthony Joshua 7 rounds to knock him out. Look, Deontay Wilder knocked him out in less than 3. I don't understand. You know, I mean, you have one guy that goes in for the kill. You have another guy that wants to break his opponent down. At the end of the day, they both knock the guy out. Why are people going to use that to try to convince anyone, let alone myself, that because Deontay Wilder knocked him out quicker, that makes him a better fighter? And I'm not suggesting you're saying that, but a lot of people are going to say that. I want to know why.
I think it's human nature. I think that tends to happen whenever fighters have common opponents, have opponents in common. They tend to look at, well, you know, how did he do against him? How did the other guy do against him? And I think you're right. Maybe it's fair. Maybe it isn't. Styles make fights. Every fight, unfolds in a different way. And a win is a win. Whether it took you 8 rounds to systematically break a guy down, or you did it in you wrecked the whole house in under 3 minutes, you still got the KO. So you're right. It is something that, but I think that's, especially in terms of the casuals, casuals will like that because it definitely makes you think, well, wouldn't doing it quicker be better? You're on the job for a less amount of time, and we know this is a dangerous sport, and every round that you're in there, you're susceptible to getting stopped too. So the idea that you did it so quickly, but you're right. No, it doesn't. I don't think there's really too much you can glean for it because they are different fighters. I think Joshua hits very hard too. It's just that he's not he doesn't take you out in the same way. His power is more, he builds on the power.
Yeah, he accumulates. It's accumulated. And I agree with you. I listen, don't get me wrong. I love
hit by either one of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to get hit by either one. But Deontay Wilder, I love that approach that he wants to get it over with. I mean, he reminds me of early Mike Tyson, like I said earlier. I think a lot of fighters should do that. But if you're fighting Wilder, I think the one thing that you have to be ready for is that. I mean, you could make the argument, we can't get sparring to emulate, his crazy punches. We can't emulate this. We can't. But the one thing you can emulate is having somebody come right at you from the opening bell and start trying to finish you off. It just seemed like Breazeale was more shocked at that than anything else, and that's shocking in itself because that's what Wilder does.
Well, yeah, and I did just see that one of the quotes from the press conference last night was that Breazeale did say that he thought that the referee stopped it too quickly.
Oh, come on!
I'm pretty sure the rules say he only has to count to 10.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing is, Harvey Dock, listen, I love Harvey Dock. I think he's one of the better referees out there. And, he didn't even have to count the 10. He would, when you're flat on your back like that, and usually New York waves it off. So there's no way. Yeah, he was stumbling to his feet at the count of 10. And he says he waved it off too soon. Nah, he saved him. Well, listen, I thought it was one of those knockouts where they were going to immediately wave it off and call in the stretcher because that's the way he hit the ground.
Yeah, he definitely hit the ground hard and his legs folded up. And I was glad that he got the full count and was given that chance. But you're right. I think the fact that Breazeale made those comments speaks to how concussed he really was. Because he wasn't in his body for the 10 count. I think it was a good example of what Joyce Carol Oates talks about, where essentially a fighter, when he's knocked out, is knocked out of time, and that really is what we saw last night. That's what's impressive about it. I don't know. The comparisons to Mike Tyson, I bristle at a little because for me, Mike Tyson, that was what got me into the sport. And Mike Tyson never dressed like the Statue of Liberty.
No. Listen, don't get me wrong. I still think Tyson. But, yeah, because Breazeale, the next thing he said after that was, I had him right where I wanted him. I had him, I was tiring him out. I knew I was going to last. Yeah, you know what, but.
Well, that's the thing that's awesome about this. And what's unfortunate is that it looks like now we're going to see Wilder Ortiz 2, which, it's okay, but come on. That's not what we want to see. We want to see Wilder Joshua. I'd see Fury Wilder 2. I think Fury beats Wilder every day. If they fought 7 days in a week, I think he wins at least 6 of them. So to me, I don't really need to see Wilder Fury 2, but I'd rather see that than Wilder Ortiz 2 because of the draw. I'd love to see Fury Joshua. If these guys are going to keep not fighting each other, then I don't know. That's unfortunate because I think, like Al Bernstein said last night, it's very easy to remember, or at least for me, to remember Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis, or Mike Tyson, George Foreman. Those were fights that everybody was drooling for, and we never got them. And I really hope they don't think, because Wilder seemed a little coy last night with Jim Gray, the always annoying Jim Gray.
Hate him.
But I do think that, because he made it seem like it's okay if we wait. And that makes me think that they like that the model that was laid out for Pacquiao Mayweather. And I think that is just bad business sense. Making this thing marinate is just a bad idea. These guys are young. We could get a series of fights if we see them meet at least once. And the idea that they're all sort of with their own promotional companies and their own networks now, we're farther away from seeing them fight each other than we ever have been, and I think that's disappointing.
Well, it just shows that they could care less about the sport and talk about promotional company. I last night I was noticing, and this fight is being brought to you by, and they start rattling off all the promoters involved. I'm like, oh my God, it used to be, Don King Promotions presents, or Golden Boy or Top Rank, now it's everyone, but. Speaking of the commentating, I thought it was terrible last night. Al and Paulie are always good, but they've become corporate. I absolutely despise Ronaldo. But the fight between Juan Heraldez and Heraldez-Mendez. Now, I loved that fight, Alex. For some reason, and I'm generally lean towards a Wilder destroying Breazeale in one round. Is I usually like those fights better, but for some reason the Heraldez-Mendez fight I really liked, and I scored the fight for Mendez. I thought Mendez won that fight 96-94. I don't have any problem with the draw. I don't even have a problem with Julie Lederman's 97-93 score. I thought that Mendez was landing significant punches, and when Heraldez was landing shots on him, he was rolling with a lot of them. A lot of them weren't hitting clear. But the commentating during that fight was 100% for Heraldez. It was like he was battering Mendez. And even my man Steve Farhood, his scorecard suggested the same. And then when they went to the social media, everybody watching that fight was leaning towards Heraldez. And I realized right then that, if people don't think that the commentator, as you're watching a fight, is swaying what you think you're seeing, you're totally wrong. And I disagree with that. I think that commentators should call the action as they see it and kind of not be partial to one or the other. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's all. It's always best to try to be impartial, and I think HBO tended to do that a lot, where they brought a narrative into the fight that they wanted to see, and then they'd shape what they were watching to fit the narrative. And I think that's the wrong way to do it. That you should sculpt the narrative to what you're seeing unfold in front of you. And I think that that's harder to do because you can't write everything beforehand. You have to do it live because things are changing in front of you. But you still can write a lot of background and be ready for what happens. I thought that Al Bernstein and Steve Farhood did mention in the later rounds that Mendez seemed to close up the distance between the two of them in the last couple rounds. Because it did end up because he finished strong, and I think Farhood mentioned that, Mendez won the last round on all 3 cards, and I think that was the difference. So it was close. But, yeah, I think that, I don't know. Moro is tough for me because I feel a lot of empathy for him. I don't know if you watched the special about...
boo-hoo. We all got problems.
Exactly. We all have problems, and that doesn't mean that, I can't criticize how he does his job. And how he does his job I find a little annoying. There's, I love allusions to popular culture, but sometimes he says them just to say them. At one point, he shouted out, "This is 40!" And I don't understand what he was referring to other than just making an obscure reference to a movie title. It had nothing to do with anything other than it was like the 40th KO. I don't know. I guess people like him.
Who?
But it seems like if you were aware of him in professional wrestling, you have a soft spot.
Well, because the Showtime and PBC, they want boxing to be like professional wrestling. And I'll tell you another thing. They obviously were doing an inside joke because he forgot. He couldn't get. He thinks about all his lines he's going to use before the event, and then he tries to fit them in. Because Paulie Malignaggi used the line, I forget what it was, during their little, which is the sad. Listen, I want to know, why is Brian Custer, if that's his name, why is he there? He seems like he doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook. He says, what did he say? He beat the guts out of him. It was like, it wasn't what you want. He mixes up phrases. I don't know.
Yeah, and I do think, I understand that it's a paid channel, so you're going to get them trying to sell their other shows. But it is annoying that in between the fights, you have to watch an Access Hollywood interview with some star from a show that no one cares about. I don't know. That was a little annoying. But I do think that just to say something about Naoya Inoue, I don't know. There's something, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch the KO win of Inoue yesterday on DAZN, I would highly recommend it. It's a thing of beauty. Like Dax said, he is a pound-for-pound star. Bantamweights are really beautiful to watch. The amount of skill that you can see in just how he delivers his punches, the selection of shots, the left hooks that he took out Rodriguez with last night were just amazing. He's really, I don't know. I look forward to the next fight in the final in the World Boxing Super Series because I like Nonito Donaire, but I agree with Dax that Inoue will take him out. But that should be a good one because Donaire has been a perennial star in these lighter weight classes. So it will be cool to see how Inoue does against him.
I got one more question before we let you go. Isn't a Zuffa, isn't that the thing that you use in the shower with soap on your back?
I think that's a loofah.
Okay, a loofah. I see.
Yeah.
Because Dax kept talking about Zuffa, and I'm going, what's he talking about? Him taking himself a shower?
There's some little spicy talk of disgraced former Fox News analyst Bill O'Reilly talking about loofahs.
Oh, that's funny stuff. But anyway, any thoughts real quick on the possibility of a Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo or Jacobs or even Triple G fight? He won. He basically took the belt that they offered him for free. So he's got that now. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that those fights would be interesting. But again, I think like we have in the heavyweight division, the most intriguing fight for Canelo is Golovkin, the Golovkin rubber match. Let's get that out of the way. And then sure, I don't know. I do think that I don't know, Bill. I mean, I do think that when you have guys like Canelo and Golovkin who are so good at the top of that division, and maybe this will see. I don't think it would happen in the heavyweight division because the unknown quantity is power. But with 12-round fights, Golovkin and Canelo could fight again in another close fight that doesn't really decide anything.
No, I don't think the first did.
As much as I want to see it, I realize that we could end up with going 36 rounds and not knowing who dominated the most of them with these two. So who knows?
Well, the one thing I do know is when Canelo fought Daniel Jacobs in Vegas, and we were there, and Triple G walked into the house, everybody booed him because he's clearly regarded as Canelo's, villain. That they are, the opposites. You either like Triple G or Canelo, and that's worth something. And to tell you the truth, if they fought 5 more times and all the fights, 5 more controversies, there'd still be value there, but because of the nature of the fights. But I tell you, I wish that those two guys would fight each other with the same mindset. Deontay Wilder fights whoever they put in front of him. Seek and destroy and get it over with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think that I did just want to say one thing about his comments leading up to the fight. There were, about wanting a body on his record. That was really unfortunate. I don't think we need talk like that because, and if you follow out the sort of logic behind what he was saying, it doesn't seem like there is logic.
He's a wacko. He's a whack job. Come on. That whole interview, prior, even what he was saying with the idiot Jim Gray prior to the fight was nonsense. He was rambling on. I'm saying to myself, the guy is making no sense. He's trying to make sense. He's trying to talk as eloquently as Dominic Breazeale did, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the brains. I'm sorry. He doesn't have the brains.
Yeah, he's no Mike Tyson when it comes to try to express himself. That was the thing about Mike Tyson is that, the guy's bright. And that sure, he'll say Bolivian instead of oblivion sometimes. But, you always could follow Mike Tyson's logic, and he made sense. And I think that that's the thing about Deontay Wilder is that a lot of times his message gets sort of incoherent in his desire to say something dramatic. And I think that's exactly what happened with this week was that it was like all to sell tickets. And, maybe it worked for them, but it was unfortunate. And hopefully in the future, we don't get that. And it's not sort of this political correctness thing. It's just that it's ugly. And that idea of saying, I want to have a body on my record. Yeah, there's no need for that.
Alex, appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to you next weekend, my man.
Billy C., take care.
All right, brother. That's Alex Papali, and we're going to take a short break. We're scheduled to have the return of Emily Harney. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Addiction.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining us again, seems like it's been forever, is boxing's best photographer, Emily Harney. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm good. It's great to be back on.
You were at the fights last night, the Deontay Wilder. All right, so we got to get it from you. How devastating that from TV? That knockout looked devastating. What did it sound like from the apron?
Well, I was above, and I was able to get the shot. So, you know, it was a good shot when you're above and you're able to get it. So those right hands were bombs. And I was wondering when Breazeale was going to move out of his way, because he just kept getting clocked with them. And that's all I have for photos is him getting hit with the right hand. And every time he would hurt him, it was the right hand. And it was just like this one massive punch that would come. And I don't know if he just didn't see it or what, but whoever he fights in the future, Wilder that is going to have to watch out for that right hand, because he used it very well last night. Now, I didn't think that fight was going to go many rounds anyways, but to end in 2 minutes and 17 seconds, if you look at my photo that's posted online, if you look at the judge's expression in the background, she didn't expect it to go that short either. So it was devastating.
I kind of thought that the fight may go 6 rounds. I thought that there would be a feeling out process to a degree. I'm not a huge fan of Wilder, but I love the way he comes out, and his main objective is to seek and destroy, and he displayed that last night. I'm more shocked from Breazeale not being ready for that. And, it seemed to me the only chance that Breazeale had would be to make it an inside, dirty, kind of a boring fight. And, he didn't even try, like he thought that it was going to be, okay, this is the customary feel-out round. And Wilder was like, nah, I got other things to do, and landed that shot. Do you think if Breazeale would have tried to, because that one time, because Breazeale did, when he was hurt against the ropes, he did, fire
fought back.
It was a desperation shot that rocked Wilder. I mean, Wilder went stumbling back, but he seemed to recover quickly.
No, I agree. I from my own experience, I know you don't go in there and fill out that first round if you don't have to. So you just go in there and throw bombs if you can. But we see that often, and so I think guys become accustomed to like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and it's sometimes even like the touching gloves thing. It's like, no, like you got to go right for it, and to not expect, especially after all of the hype, to not expect Deontay Wilder to go right after you. I mean, he would have gone after anybody that was going to talk the way that they talked prior to that fight. So I don't know why you wouldn't be prepared for that. And regardless of the talk, why wouldn't you be prepared for that? Just based on what the situation is, what's at stake. This isn't your first time out in a big heavyweight fight. This means a lot, and if you did something to Deontay and you were able to make some sort of statement, more than being able to land that shot and back him up, people would go, okay, well, maybe we could put him in the mix over here. But now it's like, well, what did you think you were going into? So I mean, he did rock him. He was able to get off a nice shot there. I don't think he would have been able to continue after Deontay put him down like he said he was able to. But
no.
I thought we were going to get 3 rounds out of this.
One other thing on this fight I wanted to ask you, and it's already got me aggravated. Everybody is talking about, Deontay Wilder took care of Breazeale in less than a round, and it took 7 rounds for Anthony Joshua. To me, that doesn't mean anything.
No.
2 different style fighters, etc. But one thing I think that Deontay Wilder did gain last night was value. And I think that his bargaining power really rose because of the nature in which he knocked out Breazeale. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also think it's the way he carried himself afterwards, the way in which he spoke, as excited as he was, as thrilled as he was to be in the position that he is. He was still... He kept it in good character, and you got to respect him for that, especially, again, after everything leading up to the fight and what you sometimes see from him in the past. You kind of carry some of that stuff into it, and you wonder, how is a fighter going to react to this? And I give him a lot of credit for responding in the way in which he did. But I don't think him and Joshua have the same fight. You can't compare Breazeale and Joshua to what Wilder and Breazeale did. It's important for Joshua to watch out for that right, and I don't think that's something that he's skipping a beat on. But you have 2 very different styles of fights there and styles of fighters, and I think you get a much more tactical fight when you have Joshua and Wilder in the ring together, when we see that.
I want to ask you about one more fight on this card, and then I'm dying to ask you about the Foxwood card. In the first fight that was on TV, Juan Heraldez fought Heraldez-Mendez, and the way they scored it was 2 judges saw it even at 95-95, and Julie Lennerman had it 97-93 for Mendez, and ultimately the fight was a draw. I scored that fight 96-94 in favor of Mendez. From my view, I thought that Mendez was landing crisp shots, and I'm not taking anything away from Heraldez, but it seemed like a lot of his punches that the commentating were giving him credit for, Mendez was actually rolling or slightly deflecting, and I thought that he put on a much better defensive display. From your viewpoint, did you think that I have a point there, or were the scores right, or do you think it should have went either way? What's your thoughts on that fight?
I think you have a point there. I actually agreed with Julie, and from pictures too, I thought that Menendez had won the fight. And actually, everybody up where we were like, "Well, wait a second, that was a draw." So yeah, I don't know where those other punches landed, and scored points. And that's the unfortunate thing. You want to be in that other 2 positions of those judges to go, well, what did you actually see? Because Julie saw what we saw, and I'm up above, I'm not sitting ringside. So for me to sometimes compare what I see to what a judge sees, and I'm way up there, I know that I'm seeing something more accurate, at least from that perspective. Now, we know that there's a variety of vantage points when you watch this sport or cover this sport, and we get those differences of opinions all the time, but everybody from where I was in agreement that he had gotten robbed.
Well, from my vantage point, which was on the couch with a scotch watching on high definition, I thought for sure that Mendez won the fight. All right, over at Foxwoods, you and I talked last week, and you said, Marco Huck is on that card, and sure enough, he was. And I was wondering what the deal was, and they're quietly trying to get him, and they matched him up with Nick Guvias, who's no killer. But I saw the video of the fight, and they're saying that they ended up making it a no contest because Huck hit him on a break. Now, I guess they're referring to the fact that the referee might have yelled break because he never tried to separate him, and once he did, the punch was already in motion. I disagree with the call. What happened?
So yeah, he hadn't interjected. He had just said it. And it's one of those things, and we see it all the time, where, that punch is already intended to be thrown out of your hand, and to kind of like withdraw it is a really difficult thing to do sometimes. And, I don't think it was an intentional thing. I think if anything, it has it been called a no contest at this point?
Yeah, they changed it. The commission changed it. It initially was initially called a TKO victory for Huck because the doctors stopped the fight after an accidental foul, which obviously was hitting on the break. But then the commission changed it to a no contest.
Yeah, I mean, first round, and it wasn't that far in. I can understand why it was the accidental foul and no contest. At first, they had given it the TKO, and I was a little, I don't know. I haven't gone back and watched the video, so I wasn't sure if that was the accurate thing to call it, or if you do call it a no contest because of the fact that it was accidental, he wasn't able to continue, you were so, new into the fight. It's like, well, what do you do there? Do you call it a TKO? Someone go, well, yeah, it's a TKO because he never interjected. He just said the word, and the punch clearly landed. And he was still on his feet when the punch landed. It wasn't like he was fully down. So,
but like 10 seconds earlier or around that time, didn't Huck hurt him with a punch before that? Could you say that he was already hurt?
I wouldn't say that he was already hurt, because this really hurt him, because he hit him once and then they broke, or, he had said to break, and then that's when the second punch landed that really did some damage. And it was, I think, because the other guy heard break, he probably obviously wasn't expecting it either. He probably figured this guy's actually going to break.
What's the rule? What's the rule? Protect yourself at all times, right?
Very true. Very true.
Interesting. Did you ever find out why he was there? How did he get there? What fighter? What other fighter on that card was with his promoter?
So let's see. Who else was on that card? Oh man, there was somebody else out of his gym that was on that card. Okay. Other than that, I just know that he's trying to get back in the mix, and this was the right time to do it, I guess.
Yeah,
wasn't the right fight to do it.
It wasn't the right. It certainly wasn't the right outcome. That's for sure. But
absolutely not.
In any event, one last question for you: what's your thoughts on Billy Joe Saunders winning the WBO super middleweight belt? Does that open up doors for him in the super middleweight division, or does it get him back in the mix with a high-profile fight potentially against Canelo or Triple G or even Daniel Jacobs?
I think he's just trying to get himself back in the mix after everything that happened last summer. I think he has the ability to go in two different directions right now, and this was probably the best option for him. Where else was he going to go after everything that had happened last week? So now that he's got the win and he's got the belt, I think he's going to make the best decisions possible for himself. He's got to think about weight. If weight becomes an issue and he's having trouble making weight, then that decision is kind of easy. But how do you feel he fares in that mix. Can he get a couple good paydays? Maybe. But, he's got a very short window now, I think, because of what went down last summer. And maybe people aren't really sure they want to take the chance on him. But he proved himself last night. So you just hope that he can continue to be the best that he possibly can, because he's got it. It's just a matter of taking advantage of it and not letting other things get in the way.
We mentioned the fact earlier that he was on ESPN Plus, and that all of a sudden seems to be an issue. You're either signed with the Zone, you're signed with Top Rank and that, or you're with the PBC. So, hopefully that we know that's preventing the showdown between Anthony Joshua and Wilder, that they're with different groups, let's say, because it's not just promotional companies anymore. But do you think the Billy Joe Saunders alliance with Top Rank and ESPN Plus will come into play?
At some point, all these guys are going to have to come to the playground and play together and just deal with it, because it's going to make money for everybody. It's in the best interest of your fighters to, at some point, everybody get along and make things work, because why wouldn't you? You see what happens to these other networks and promoters when they don't, support each other. So I think there's, only hope that they all can come together, because at some point they're all going to be fighting in the old age home without them.
Hey, easy about those old age homes. But Emily, it's great to have you back, and we look forward to you next week.
Thanks. Great to be back.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
That's Emily Harney, boxing's best photographer, and I kid you not, she is. All you got to do is, if you go to all the major websites, the shot that you see, you'll see on the bottom, photographed by Emily Harney. Anyway, it's great to have her back, and we look forward to her thoughts. She was at the fights last night, and as you can see, was still in her vehicle. So we will get that back to her regular place next week, hopefully. Or if she's working, we'll be glad to know that she'll be with us on Sundays. But anyway, an email from my man Jonathan from the UK says, "Hey, Billy C, I wrote to you last week questioning Deontay Wilder's power, and the fight with Breazeale would answer a lot of questions. Well, I have to give Deontay Wilder full credit for his performance, and he has now proved his power to me. I know just want to see him fight now I just want to see him fight Joshua, and I now give him a better chance." Listen, nobody is a bigger fan of Anthony Joshua than myself. Thanks for the email, John. But Deontay Wilder has every bit of chance of beating beating Anthony Joshua, because he's got that punching power. I just don't think that a fighter with better defensive skill and better hand speed, better movement, better overall boxing skill than Breazeale would end up in the same spot as Breazeale did last night against Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua is a different animal. And if Alex and Dax are correct with some of their findings, with the talk out on the word on the curb, if you will, that they're trying to marinate and let this fight build up more and more and more. And I'm talking about the fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Then that's terrible, because obviously they don't care about the sport. One other thing I want to add is that, remember last week we were talking about the Korobov fight against Aleem, and it was a fight that Emmanuel Aleem, in my opinion, lost. I thought Korobov won that fight easily, and it turned out to be a majority draw. It was initially announced as a majority win for Korobov, which I thought was even wrong in itself, and then it was later changed. They said, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake. That one score that we thought was in favor of Korobov was actually a draw, like the other score, so now we had a majority draw." Well, the team, Korobov's full team, is filing an official protest of the outcome, and I agree with them. I thought that Korobov won that fight, and I thought that he won that fight hands down, to be honest with you. But very rarely do commissions overturn something. And I'm not so sure that they are even in a position to order a rematch. Ordering a rematch is generally done by a sanctioning body. That's generally the driver of ordering a rematch. A commission can generally change the outcome of a fight, in this case calling it a draw instead of a win, or ordering the fight they can't order a rematch, but they could change the result, or they could make it a no contest if they find something was done incorrectly, etc. But generally the protest is just to officially announce that you're disagreeing, because very rarely do commissions step up and do the right thing. I think that was a Virginia commission. I think if the Virginia commission wants to get some credibility, they would step up and do the right thing. Change it back, or rule in a no contest and force the powers that be to have a rematch. It was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. I think Emmanuel Aleem, no disrespect, is a 100% overrated fighter. He did not show me anything. Korobov is an aging fighter, contender, world title challenger. Should have gotten that fight. But anyway, final thoughts for me on Deontay Wilder's win over Dominic Breazeale. I mean, there's not much more you can talk about that fight. It ended, and the official time was 2 minutes and 17 seconds of the first round. It was a devastating right hand that laid out Breazeale. He was rocked earlier in the round, and as desperation, just throwing punches to survive, he landed a shot that sent Wilder reeling backwards. It shows you that Deontay Wilder is susceptible to being knocked out. Ortiz had him hurt, couldn't finish him off. Tyson Fury hurt him a couple of times, even though Tyson Fury doesn't have much power, couldn't finish him off. Ultimately, Deontay Wilder has come back and win all those fights. It still remains to see how well a guy like Deontay Wilder could fare against a quality fighter in Anthony Joshua. I'm not suggesting that Breazeale or Tyson Fury weren't quality fighters, or Luis Ortiz wasn't a quality fighter. It's time for Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua. And to be honest with you, I know they're talking about a rematch with 76-year-old Luis Ortiz, but I really think Deontay Wilder should consider fighting Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is a better fight for Deontay Wilder, and it would be a better win on his resume than a rematch with Luis Ortiz. The other fight I would like to see is Joseph Parker against Deontay Wilder. Joseph Parker's got a chin. Joseph Parker can move. Joseph Parker can box, and he's got some hand speed. I would like to see Deontay Wilder fight either Dillian Whyte or Joseph Parker. What intrigues me about the Whyte fight is that Dillian Whyte is a body work fighter. He works the body. This is something I've been saying all along about Deontay Wilder. In order to beat Deontay Wilder, you have to fight him inside, work his body, slow down his movement, make him throw his punches from even stupider angles and even wider, and then catch him with a counter punch or catch him before his punch hits you. Wilder is very beatable. It just didn't look it last night. Okay, boys and girls, we appreciate you joining us today. All I can say is this. Make sure you tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.